Under the dazzling lights of Hollywood, a group of talented actors gathered for one final audition. It was the last day of casting for a major film project led by Johnny Depp. The competition was intense, with every aspiring actor hoping for their breakthrough moment. Sitting at the front of the audition room, Johnny Depp watched closely, surrounded by the film's director and production team. They had been there for hours, meticulously evaluating performances, searching for the perfect cast. As the day neared its end, Ellie Carter stepped onto the stage. Young, passionate, and determined, her emerald green eyes burned with intensity. The moment she began her scene, the room seemed to hold its breath. There was something captivating about her presence, the raw emotion in her voice, the way she effortlessly embodied the character. But Johnny, distracted by a discussion with one of the producers, missed a crucial part of her performance. When it came time to make a decision, his mind was elsewhere. He glanced at his notes and hesitated. Then, almost absent-mindedly, he shook his head. "She's not the right fit." And just like that, Ellie was eliminated from consideration. Little did Johnny know, this would be one of the biggest mistakes of his career. After the auditions wrapped up, Johnny retreated to his office, his mind weighed down by the decisions he had made. He needed to go over the final list of selected actors one last time. Sitting at his desk, he opened his laptop and began reviewing the audition tapes again. He wanted to be absolutely certain that he had made the right choices. One by one, he rewatched the performances. Then, Ellie's scene appeared on the screen. Johnny leaned in, his brow furrowing as he focused on her performance, truly watching it for the first time. The intensity in her eyes, the way she delivered her lines, the raw emotion in her voice, it was flawless. His stomach tightened. He had made a terrible mistake. Running a hand through his hair, frustration settled deep within him. How had he overlooked her? She had something rare, something real, a presence that couldn't be taught. Without hesitation, he grabbed his phone and called his assistant. "I need you to find Ellie Carter's contact information. I have to speak with her immediately." There was a pause before his assistant responded, a hint of uncertainty in their voice. "Johnny, she didn't leave a phone number, just an email address." Johnny's frown deepened. No phone number? No agent? That was almost unheard of in Hollywood. The assistant hesitated before adding, "We can try emailing her, but there's no guarantee she'll respond." Johnny exhaled sharply, gripping the phone tighter. This wasn't going to be easy. But he wasn't about to let a mistake define his legacy. Not this time. Johnny didn't waste a second. That night, he personally drafted an email to Ellie. He admitted his mistake, told her how impressed he was after rewatching her audition, and expressed his genuine interest in casting her for the role. Then, he waited. Days passed. No response. Johnny had faced rejection before, but this felt different. People usually jumped at the chance to work with him. Why wasn't Ellie responding? Was she ignoring him on purpose? Restlessness gnawed at him. He wasn't the type to sit back and let things slip through his fingers. Taking matters into his own hands, Johnny instructed his team to dig deeper. Where had Ellie performed before? Where had she trained? Where could she be now? It wasn't easy. Ellie wasn't a Hollywood name. She didn't have an agent broadcasting her talent to the industry. She wasn't active on social media. She was a ghost. Eventually, an old theater director from the Golden Stage Theater, where Ellie had once performed, gave Johnny his first real lead. "She was one of the most promising young talents we had," the man said, shaking his head. "But after the audition, she seemed different, like something broke inside her. She stopped coming around." Johnny's chest tightened. "Do you have any idea where she might be now?" he asked. The director hesitated. "Last I heard, she was performing in an underground independent theater, said she wanted to prove herself again." Johnny thanked him and left, but finding an underground theater performer in a city like Los Angeles was like looking for a needle in a haystack. Days turned into a week. Every inquiry led to another dead end. Then, finally, a breakthrough. One of Johnny's assistants discovered that Ellie had a favorite cafe she often visited. It wasn't much, but it was something. Early the next morning, Johnny walked into the cafe, ordered a coffee, and casually scanned the room. And then, near a window, he saw her. Ellie sat alone, sipping her coffee, lost in thought. Johnny's pulse quickened. This was his chance. Johnny took a deep breath and approached Ellie's table. As he stopped in front of her, she slowly looked up. For a moment, she was speechless. Then her expression hardened. "What are you doing here?" she asked coldly. Johnny, unfazed by her hostility, gave her a small, apologetic smile. "I need to talk to you." Ellie set her coffee cup down with deliberate slowness. "Talk?" she scoffed. "You mean like how you and your panel talked when you decided I wasn't good enough?" Johnny sighed, his shoulders dropping slightly. "Ellie, I made a mistake, and I want to fix it." She crossed her arms, her emerald green eyes locked onto his. "Oh? And what changed your mind?" Johnny leaned forward slightly, his voice calm but firm. "I rewatched your audition, and I saw what I missed the first time. Your talent, your passion. You deserved that role, and I let a careless decision take it away from you." Ellie's expression didn't soften. Not yet. "So, what?" she challenged. "You just expect me to jump at the opportunity now?" Johnny shook his head. "Number, I don't expect anything. I just needed you to know that I recognize my mistake. And if you're still willing, I want to offer you the role." Silence. For a moment, Johnny thought she was going to walk away. Then he saw it, the briefest flicker of emotion beneath her guarded expression. Ellie clenched her hands slightly, her voice quieter now. "You don't know what that rejection did to me." Johnny met her gaze, steady and sincere. "I can imagine, and I'm truly sorry, but I still believe you're meant for this." Ellie inhaled deeply, contemplating his words. Finally, after a long pause, she exhaled and said, "All right, but I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for me." Johnny smiled, a glint of admiration in his eyes. "That's exactly why you should do it." The movie was a massive hit. Critics raved about it, but more importantly, they raved about Ellie. Her performance was hailed as one of the most breathtaking debuts Hollywood had seen in years. Practically overnight, she went from an overlooked talent to one of the most sought-after actresses in the industry. Johnny watched her rise with immense pride. At the premiere, Ellie approached him with a smirk. "You know," she said, "I almost didn't come back for that second audition." Johnny chuckled, shaking his head. "And yet, here you are." Ellie smiled, her eyes shining under the lights. "Here I am." That night, as Johnny stood amidst the glitz and glamour, he reflected on everything. Giving Ellie a second chance hadn't just changed her life. It had changed his, too. He had learned something invaluable. True greatness comes from recognizing when you're wrong and making it right. And sometimes, the right person just needs one second chance to prove the world wrong. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like and share the video. Subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications for more inspiring stories. See you in the next story.